Welcome to my channel. I'm Elizabeth Liz Muschett, and we are the Astrology Star Sisters, and we're talking about the new moon forecast in Sagittarius for 2025. And I'm going to welcome my guest, Madam Simon. Welcome to the show, Simon. How are you today?
Pretty good, Liz. How are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. It's been tipsy-turvy today. Things are changing all over the place, but we're managing.
Yeah.
So, the Sagittarius new moon. Madam Simon is an archetypal astrologer, tarot reader, visionary artist, and her website is iconalchemy.com. I'm an astrologer, author, intuitive, and tarot reader, and my website is alightpath.com. So we're going to talk about the Sagittarius new moon, and we have this beautiful art piece from Madam Simon. And can you tell us about your art piece?
Sure. So this has 7 candles for Saturnalia and for the 7 traditional planets. This Sagittarius new moon falls right in the middle of Saturnalia, the Roman festival of Saturn, in which normal social roles were reversed. Everybody was on equal social footing from the lowest to the highest person. Gifts were given, but they tended to be small gifts or gag gift kind of things. The mask is something that we see with Saturnalia, also the dice, which were sometimes given as gifts. And then, of course, we have a variety of traditional plants that are associated with winter holidays in European countries. So we've got some mistletoe and the holly and the ivy, and of course some evergreen boughs with some pine cones, and then a few sigils, and yeah, and I don't remember what they are, honestly.
Well, you can join your Patreon page and find out all about it, I think, if I'm
Yes.
not correct.
Yes.
So, for me, as we go into the new moon, um, I like to start thinking about what I want to release and what I want to bring in. And, it's like I kind of think about that a day or two before, and then on the new moon, I might, light a candle, but I like to wait till the sliver of the moonlight, so a day or two after the new moon, to write my desires and intentions down and to light a candle to ignite those intentions. And I know you do it a little different, so I'll let you share what you do.
So I treat new moons as kind of a meditational and incubating um, kind of time. Um, and then if I'm actually going um, to really clarify an intention, it's going to be based on, like the images and um, general feelings around that moon that come up during the dark of the moon. And then with that new crescent, that's when I'm going to kind of maybe firm up my ideas about what my intentions are for the month ahead. But I don't really do so much of a, oh, I'm going to, light candles or what have you. Um, it's not that I don't ever do candle work. I just don't tend to do it for the new moon. So.
Well, and I really like it that we do it different, so it gives our audience some ideas, and they don't even have to do it how either of us do. They can come up with their own way. So it's like have fun and be creative, I say. So Sagittarius is a mutable sign that's adaptable, meditating, evolving, distributing, and restless. The ruling planet of Sagittarius is Jupiter. It's of the fire element, assertive, passionate, motivated, energetic. And the mantra is I seek. And I'll let you share the keywords and the cautions.
So, Sagittarius is philosophical, adventurous, high-minded, farseeing, spontaneous, idealistic, jovial, since it's ruled by Jupiter, um, motivational and forthright. Some of the cautions are being arrogant, unreliable, quick-tempered, like all fire signs, and inconsistent or fanatical.
Anything else you'd like to add?
So Jupiter and Sagittarius in particular, if I had one word to apply to them, it would be belief. And so this is where we can see both some of the the keywords and the cautions there with regard to belief. Idealistic, yes, but also sometimes, maybe a bit self-righteous and, I know better.
My way's the right way.
Right.
And this new moon is at the galactic center at about 27 degrees Sagittarius, located in the middle of the Milky Way galaxy. And it's also referred to as a gigantic black hole. Do you want to add anything?
Well, so the galactic center, it's theorized out this black hole at the center where all of these galaxies are kind of like clustering in together. Not galaxies, all of these stars are clustering in together at the center. And then it's got arms coming out. It's, a spiral armed galaxy. And so anytime that there is a known black hole at a particular area in the sky, we can associate that, among other things, with like gravitational pull, with something really being drawn to that space. Also, perhaps a sense of hunger or desire there. And when we have transits to the galactic center, then some astrologers, myself included, will associate that with things that have a universal impact.
I would agree with that for sure. Okay, and we have several planets out of bounds, and out of bounds means a planet that's north or south of 23 degrees and 27 minutes of declination, so out of the bounds of the sun, and the planet acts on its own. The moon will be out of bounds from December 18th through the 22nd. Mercury will go out of bounds later this month at December 29th through January 15th. Venus later on December 22nd through January 3rd. Mars is out of bounds since November 28th through January 4th. Vesta's been out of bounds since November 11th and will go back in bounds today. And Hygeia went out of bounds in June and will be out of bounds until February 17th of next year. Would you like to add anything?
No.
Okay, so we're going to look at our first chart for December 19th at 5:43 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we have the moon aspects. The moon is conjunct the sun, Venus, Juno, Mars, the TNO, Varda, and the galactic center. Boy, that's a big pile up there in Sagittarius.
Right.
And then the moon is square Saturn and Neptune, trine Chiron and Eris, opposite Hygeia, and quincunx Uranus. So what jumps out at you?
Well, of course, the giant pile up in Sagittarius to start with. And note that, yes, this moon is within orb to be considered conjunct Mars, but Mars has already entered Capricorn, which is the sign of Mars's exaltation. So Mars likes being in Capricorn. Mars gets some guidance and some structure from Saturn, the ruling planet of Capricorn. And that makes it so that Mars can apply our willpower, our energy, our drive, but do so in a way that is patient, that persists through difficulties, that is undaunted by challenging tasks. So this can be some real go juice, but with with actual structure and keeping it from going, haywire, right? It's not all over the place. It has a plan, and it's steady and determined, and it knows what it's doing, which is excellent. The conjunction with Juno we can see that that's fairly tight. And then Venus is applying to the conjunction with Juno and the sun. The moon will be gone by the time that happens, but there is a strong sense of social concerns when we have that combination of Venus and Juno, right? And Sagittarius is a social sign, right? It's the sign that, all these winter holidays are like, the lead up to them is in Sagittarius season, and some of the earlier ones are in Sagittarius season. And so, that gives some of that festive quality. And yet, here they are all squaring off against Saturn and Neptune. Now, the sun and moon and Juno are all separating now from the square with Saturn, but they're still fairly close, right? Actually, Juno's applying. Juno's like 2 minutes off. No. I really need my glasses updated.
No, separating.
No, she's separating. That's right. She's separating. So, so all of them are separating. They're now, they've gone through the most intense part of that square, and they're now starting to ease the tension between them and Saturn, but they're applying to the square with Neptune. So there's still that tension. But Venus is applying to the square with Saturn. So we may be feeling that a little intensely. When Saturn is squaring off against these planets, first of all, the square is of the nature of Mars. It's contentious. Okay. The new moon being opposite Hygeia, oppositions are of the nature of Saturn, right? So there's that kind of thing where planets are facing down each other, and it's almost like they're in a standstill, right? But when they're square, they're really feeling at odds, and they're like kind of feisty. Okay. And so each planet that is in the square is trying to get its needs met. Okay. And it's difficult to find a state of compromise. Okay. And so Saturn is, of course, the planet of limitations, restrictions, shows us our fears, our insecurities, our doubts, our sense of reality and the difficulties of reality. And so, especially during a holiday season, when people are hustling and bustling and trying to get all these things done and go to the parties and have the fun and buy the gifts and whatever else that they do, depending upon which holiday they're celebrating. Not all of us go for the consumer part of it, but there's lots of busyness during these holidays. And so there comes a point when the reality of our limitations catches up with us, right? We cannot do all the things. We have to rest, or maybe we're feeling like, oh my goodness, it's a little too much sociability. I need to pause and take a break and go hide in my room for a while. Or gee, I've done all this decorating and cooking and wrapping things and whatever else that is I do, but there's only so much time in the day, and something's going to get left by the wayside. And so there may be disappointments that we associate with this. There may be, feelings of, what, I can't care anymore because I'm too frazzled about it. Remember that Saturn is in Pisces, And Pisces is a sign that is associated with emotional sensitivity and with compassion. Okay. And Saturn is, just 3 degrees away from Neptune. And among other things, Neptune connects us with all the rest of life, right? Um, Neptune is concerned with the spiritual impulse, is idealistic, but idealistic in a slightly different way from Sagittarius, right? It's a feeling way rather than a doing way. Okay. And so when we've got stuff that connects us to the whole web of life and connects us to the hardships of material reality, then we can be having an awareness of where other people are struggling, where there is suffering going on in the world. And that's a very jarring contrast during holiday celebration. Feeling deep compassion, but also being worn out by all of the things demanding our compassion. So both Liz and I are in the Pacific Northwest, and there's been a lot of flooding going on here. And one of the things that's been on my mind, even as, I mean, we've both got power now after a couple of days of not having it. But, there are still people whose homes got swept away in the floods. There are still people going through a lot of hardship. And so it's one of those difficult things to kind of find a balance for our feelings and our actions and the things that need to be done and the things that we want to do. And yet there's this awareness that things aren't all wine and roses, that there are difficulties and struggles, and some of them touch us personally, and the ones that may not touch us personally, they're still lurking there in the back of our awareness and our feelings.
It could be
And
that last minute shopping trip that you want to do. It's just like one item and you have to go to 3 stores to get it, or it takes you a lot longer to park and go in and wait in line to get it than what you might have thought you were going to spend.
right. And also, there's all that bustle of, crowds and people, and you may be feeling less than sympathetic when, their needs and yours conflict. Okay. Um, and none of that is about, oh, you must feel bad for instead of feeling good if you happen to be, enjoying your holidays. That's not what that's about. It's more a matter of um, perhaps counting your blessings. It's a reminder of what we do have to be grateful for. A Sagittarius, being Jupiter ruled, definitely is aware of gratitude and also generosity. Sometimes that's generosity of material goods, which definitely people who have been impacted by tragedies could definitely use. But sometimes it is generosity of spirit, and trying to find the balance between, yes, I want to have joy and I want to show kindness, and I also can't sit here weeping for everything that is wrong and everyone who's struggling. Have to find the balance somewhere for that, right? So
Exactly.
I feel like that's a lot of what this combination of squares is about.
Well, and this new moon is so close before the winter solstice, so it's like leading up to just a few days later. So that's really interesting. Can you share what the TNO, the Trans-Neptunian object Varda is?
Yes. So Varda is named for um, a figure in J.R.R. Tolkien's stories, and she is known as the Queen of the Valar, who are kind of divine beings, something like angels, I guess would be the way to put them. And in her case, she is known for uh, shaping some stars and shaping constellations in particular. She is very much associated with light, and often like brilliant light. So that she is considered so beautiful that she takes away her words. She is difficult to look upon because she is so beautiful because of the quality of the light that she emanates. But I find her very interesting, simply as an astrologer. I'm like, kind of a patron of astrologers to shape the constellations. But also, she is a source of guidance and hope for those in a state of darkness, going through difficult times. The challenge here is that she too is square Neptune in particular. She's at 29 degrees of Sagittarius. And so squaring off against Neptune, Neptune can also be our hopes and dreams and ideals, but also our illusions and delusions. There is definitely a spiritual quality both to Neptune and to Varda, but is it real? And and there's definitely a danger of succumbing to hopium here, where we find things that, we're trying to use as inspiration or guidance or comfort, but that in fact may be steering us in the wrong direction because we're trying too hard for the hope and comfort and not enough for the realism. Now, Saturn being there, of course, brings plenty of realism. But do keep in mind that Saturn also can bring fears and doubts and depressive tendencies that may not actually be truly real. Traditionally, a lot of the qualities that we associate with Neptune were actually associated with Saturn. And in particular, among other things, the association of Neptune with drinking, drugs, illicit substances, that kind of thing. But also kind of a moroseness or the feeling of world sorrow. The Germans have a word for it, Weltschmerz, I think is how you pronounce it. World sorrow, where you feel the weight of the world upon you, because you're feeling, there's compassion there, but also that tendency to, kind of be, I don't know, in this state of poetic malaise. That was associated with Saturn, not with Neptune, right? So now we've got like an extra dose of all of that. And so I think that the important thing to remember here within that T-square that's going on between this new moon and on Varda, and that square to Saturn and Neptune, and then this new moon is opposing Hygeia in Cancer, and she's retrograde, so she's kind of more internal and reconsidering the state of our emotional health. And how do we protect that? How do we protect what we love? But Cancer can have this tendency to get kind of moody and then be like, I'm going to retreat for a while, right? And so I think the important thing when we're looking at this T-square is to consider what we are feeling may not be the reality of what's going on. Okay? We have feelings. That doesn't mean we are our feelings. And if we're having difficult feelings, especially in the wake of that grand water trine that has been going on for the past few months, that has had a lot of us feeling like we're in the whirlpool, right? There's still some emotional processing that's going on in the wake of that. And so it's important that if we're feeling really difficult feelings, that we remember those aren't permanent. Those are not the truth of our reality. They are just part of our experience, and we can get through and past them at some point. And that brings me to the trine that is going on with this new moon and the Chiron Eris combination conjunction that's been going on since late April, early May. And that Chiron Eris pairing, that's actually going to become exact again around the time that the Saturn-Neptune conjunction becomes exact in February. And, Chiron combined with Eris has been making it so that the wounds that we don't know how to heal for ourselves have become extra loud and disruptive. Because that's what Eris does. She disrupts. She likes to stir the pot and get people riled up and then sit back and watch, right? And Chiron, Chiron is both a teacher and a healer, but cannot heal his own wounds, can't heal both his original wound of being abandoned by both his mother and his father for different reasons, and then the wound of being healed with the hit with the arrow tipped in Hydra's poison, which he was never able to fully heal from. And so, chironic wounds are not things where we can go, oh yes, I know the solution to that and I can fix it right up and all of that. Chironic wounds are things we have to sit with. Okay. And sometimes we have to accept I cannot do anything about this for myself. And maybe other people have some input that is helpful. But sometimes there are things that nobody can truly help with. That the best thing they can do to help with that wound is give us a sympathetic shoulder to cry on. Okay? So this new moon trine, that combination can give a certain sense of, I don't know if sympathy is quite the right word for it. It's definitely that there is a potential for kindness toward our wounds and the wounds of others, especially with both Venus and Juno there. Juno very much relates to our commitments to other people and to institutions, to the things that we wish to see keep going, the things we wish to see survive, that we wish to survive alongside of. And so, in that sense, Juno can very much relate to the social fabric. Okay. And you combine that with Venus, and of course, Venus is connective, and Venus, wants to be nice and have fun and everybody get along and have a good time. But when there is a lot of hurt, then there is, how do you create and hold space for people who are struggling and not leave them behind while you're having fun, okay, but also not destroy your celebrations in the process of being sympathetic, okay? Again, it goes back to some of the same issues that we see with that T-square, with Saturn, Neptune, and Hygeia. And then, of course, there's the quincunx to Uranus. And Uranus, like Eris, can be disruptive, right? And Uranus is, that sudden change, that detour, that thing you did not expect. We've got, it should be noted, we've got Mercury approaching the um, uh, T square with the lunar nodes, right? Um, and so, yeah, there's that sense of there may be some detours along the way. There may be some unexpected surprises that throw the monkey wrench in our works, like some of the power outages that we've been experiencing.
The road's closed because there's trees down in them.
Or because they're flooded in the case of some of the roads here, or a mudslide tore through them. Yeah, there's disruption at work. Now, that doesn't mean that, like, everything's going to be in disarray, but it does mean you should perhaps schedule extra time in order to account for the things you do not foresee.
Exactly. Well, there's a lot going on with this new moon. And another thought that I had with the galactic center, it's like things seem to be expanding, like the universe is growing. And so, there could be some expansion to our beliefs, maybe some new beliefs are being introduced, or new concepts for that matter.
Right.
Are you ready to go to the next slide?
Sure.
Okay, so we have an aspect pattern of a couple of T-squares here. One with Mercury square the nodes that you mentioned, and then the other one that you've been talking about is Saturn, Neptune, and Ceres is loosely involved with this new moon opposite Hygeia. So do you want to expand on any of this more deeply?
Well, that inclusion of Ceres there, Ceres is actually fairly closely square with Mars. And Mars rules Aries, where Ceres is. So Ceres is answering to Mars there, and is also squaring off against Hygeia there. So Ceres relates to how we nourish ourselves and others, how we nurture ourselves and others, what we hunger for, and sometimes what we are grieving. Okay. And squaring off against Mars, especially with Mars ruling the sign that she's in, then it actually kind of heightens that, a square is a Mars thing. Right? So there's a lot of Marsiness going on there. And Mars is definitely in the more powerful position here. Mars is in his exaltation. He's like, I got work to do, and that it makes me happy to expend my energy on a purpose, right? But we need to be aware that sometimes in our haste to to get all the things done, we need to remember that there may be some things that are going on for us, whether that is emotionally or whether it's things that we want to do, but that aren't necessarily the most practical things to do, or things that that run counter to the things we feel we need to do. Okay. My to-do list is not being accommodating to my wish list, right?
I agree with that. It's like I want to get twice as much done in a day as I possibly can. And that's just not.
Right. Well, something that I would actually see here is something along the lines of, I am so busy trying to get all these things done on my to-do list that I haven't taken time to get my workout. That might actually be something that really contributes to my mental and emotional health as well as my physical well-being. Okay. Ceres in Aries, that's one of the ways in which we can nourish or nurture ourselves when Ceres is in Aries is through exercise. And yes, there's technically the exercise of, running from one destination to the other, but it's not the same as like, oh, I'm going to have my nice workout time at the gym or, yoga class or dance or martial arts or whatever it is that we normally would do that would feel actually almost restful and meditational within the action. Okay. Um, and so again, with that, with Ceres squaring off against Aia, and what I was saying about Aia earlier, that, she's concerned with the emotional processing that we're doing, but also things like taking time for oneself and taking time for family. Um, the holidays are kind of a bit paradoxical that way, in that we may have like maybe big family gatherings, but are we having time to actually connect one-on-one with family members that we really haven't gotten a chance to see? Or are we like expected to do this hustle bustle thing and not really get something that's genuinely nourishing and nurturing going on between us? Um, and so that's some of the challenge with being social during the holidays. What is the quality of the time that we are spending together? Is it just, oh my goodness, we're supposed to all get in this room and eat stuff and exchange a bunch of gifts and then like, leave in a whirlwind of like, hugs and kisses goodbye. And hey, wait a minute, I didn't really get to see you, you know? So, um, so that's one of the things that we can pay attention to. That this set of transits is asking us to pay attention to. What is the quality of time we're spending together? Um, it's all well and good to do things for other people, but are you really just dumping on your achievements in their lap and going, "See, look, I did this thing." Like what does that amount to in terms of real connection? Okay. And so, I do think that Venus and Juno are reminding us, hey, make the connections, make the real connections, and maybe sometimes you have to drop some of the things on the do list and just sit with each other for a while and enjoy each other's company. And love being in each other's presence, including hearing about the things that are difficult as well as the fun things. Um, yeah. And I find that really interesting within the context then of Mercury square the nodes. So any planet that is squaring the nodes can be considered to be kind of a detour, kind of a, we're stepping aside from the path that we're supposed to be on, right? Because the nodes trace kind of this karmic arc, okay, where we have been, what we're comfortable with, what we're going to, and what we're learning, okay? South node to north node. And when we've got Mercury square the nodes, now it is our thoughts and our communication, and sometimes commerce, interestingly enough, is associated with Mercury. Short trips, okay, like back and forth to your various local stores, okay. Also some medical concerns can show up here, right? And so, we may have things like, I'm preparing dinner and the knife slips and now I got to go to the hospital because I cut something that I shouldn't cut. Okay. That could be something that shows up. Now that, that's not a, oh my goodness, we have to be scared now that bad things are going to happen, but more along the lines of, again, just like we said with Uranus, And to a certain extent with Eris, that disruptive quality, Mercury square the nodes may mean we have to make a detour. Maybe there's hiccups in our travel plans. Okay. Flight delays or lost luggage. That can be a thing, right? Or
Closed passes to drive over.
closed passes to drive over, or again, detours around flooded highways. Those are all factors. I do find that the commerce bit being off the path that we're supposed to take, I find that to be rather amusing, since I rather dislike the commercialism of the holidays. I'm like, see, the stars are telling you not to buy so much. But it can also mean that perhaps you maybe change your shopping plans and buy something different from what you intended. Maybe you intended to get somebody a particular gift, but there's this thing calling that seems so much better suited to them. Okay. And not all of it is troublesome, is what I'm getting at. And also I do feel like, remember I said that we were looking at the other T-square, and now in the context of this Mercury square the nodes, there is that potential for, hey, we're going to have a conversation we didn't mean to have. Okay. Now, that can be potentially awkward, but it could be very rewarding. It could be exactly what you most needed, but which didn't fit the scheduled plans. And so again, make time for things you did not foresee. Make time for things you did not plan on. Make extra time just in case something pops up that you really shouldn't miss, even if it is not part of what you expected to be doing.
Thank you. That's a great explanation. I like all that. So now we're going to go on to another aspect pattern, the minor grand trine, that has been in orb for, I think, almost this whole year and will continue next year and probably even into 2027. The Uranus sextile Neptune sextile Pluto.
Yep. So it's all the outer planets in cahoots with each other. The Pluto Uranus trine, I'm trying to remember when that's going to be exact. That's like sometime next summer, I think, isn't it? I don't
July,
remember
I
actually.
believe.
Yeah. So that in particular I find very interesting, because we had the Pluto Uranus conjunction in the 60s, great big upheaval. And then we had a series of Pluto Uranus squares. That was in 2012, I believe.
Yes.
2012, 2013, 2014, somewhere around there. And it was over the series of a couple of years. And so, we had there's this kind of disruptive quality that we can associate with that combination. Now they're getting along, they're allies, their energies are flowing back and forth to each other, but outer planets are great big forces, right? They are generational forces. And so when they're doing their stuff, yes, there can be good things that go with that, and there can be some challenging things that go with that. The outer planets typically are acting in ways that are a bit impersonal. But when our personal stuff gets caught up in them, it tends to get transformed from the ground up, and that can be a very disconcerting experience. That I keep going back to it. people love to talk about a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, but they don't talk about what it's like to be the caterpillar getting melted down inside that cocoon. It's not that it's just like, oh, it goes in there and it gets some wings stuck on its back and it comes out. No, it like turns into caterpillar goo and then gets reconfigured. And that is very much what it's like when our personal stuff, personal planets in particular, or the lights, the sun and moon, get touched by those things. Both Liz and I have been through Sun Pluto transits, among other things, in recent years, and it's pretty intense stuff. So when I see all three outer planets allied through the context of the minor grand trine, yes, these are supportive aspects. Yes, in that sense, they can be, more pleasant, perhaps, on some levels than when those outer planets are in hard transits to each other, but they're still doing outer planet things. They're still melting down caterpillars. And so, if you're one of the caterpillars being melted down, important things to recognize: this too shall pass. It will pass slowly because it's outer planets and they take a while. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, even if you cannot see it at the moment. I think that one's a really important one for us to remember, because we are living in interesting times. And it's definitely difficult at times to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it is there.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. That was a good analogy. I like that. So we're going to jump into the lunar phase family, or gestation cycle or phase. It uses the 4 lunar phases: new, first quarter, full, and last quarter. Pessin discovered this lunar phase family, and it plays out in 9-month intervals, occurring in the same sign in approximately the same degree. So we are starting the new phase today at 28 degrees Sagittarius in 24 minutes, and the first quarter will be September 18th of 2026 at 25 degrees Sagittarius in 57 minutes. Then the full phase will be in June 18th of 2027 at 27 degrees Sagittarius in 33 minutes. And the third quarter phase will be, it's supposed to say March of 17th on 2028 at 27 degrees Sagittarius in 55 minutes. So it's really interesting that 3 of these are 28 and 27 degrees Sagittarius on that galactic center, and the 25 is pretty darn close too. So this one might be a really interesting one to track for ourselves and see how it plays out.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments?
No, I agree with you. It is very interesting to see, an entire lunar phase family this close to the galactic center. So it'll be interesting to watch and see what happens.
And then I like to look at the yearly lunar phase. Sagittarius New Moon is today at 28 Sagittarius, and the full moon will be in May 31st of 2026 at 9 degrees Sagittarius. So we have lunar phases that go on a monthly cycle, a yearly cycle, and over a 3-year period at 9 months for each cycle. So lots of phases to work with. Well, Simon, I want to thank you for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. And I want to thank our audience for watching, that's watched live, and those that come back and watch at a later time. We appreciate your support. And I'm going to let Simon tell you about her Patreon page.
So I write about the astrological transits on Patreon. I do artwork based on the transits, as you can see with that new moon artwork that we saw earlier. And I do some custom astrological art for my patrons there. So if you're interested in any of that, we'd love to see you join our little community there. And like Liz, I am a consulting astrologer and tarot reader. So if you would like to schedule a consultation, you can reach me at my website, which is iconalchemy.com.
And I also do consultations, have a newsletter, and you're watching my YouTube channel, so I appreciate your support. And if you need a consultation, contact me. I have other shows, lots of shows to go back and watch again if you've missed them. And the Astrology Star Sisters has many different topics, and I do 1 to 3 shows a week. So I look forward to having you join me again soon. And I want to thank our sponsor, Astro Peregrine, an astrology software for Mac and Windows. And you can find out more information on astroperegrine.com. Well, thank you, Simon. It's been a pleasure, and our audience. And we're going to sign off and say goodbye for now, and we'll see you next time. Bye.